no way to get you there. And we used to go from, you know where Weaver is? It's about 3 miles right down I-30. But we used to go over to Weaver in the wagon to pick cotton out there on Weaver Prairie.
Now, would you bring your own cotton sacks?
Yeah, you furnished everything. You furnished your sack, and you had to get to the field the best way you could.
Would the farmer ever try to cheat you when he weighed the cotton?
No, I can't say that I ever know that they wanted to. I guess they was pretty honest at the scale. Unless they had the pea weight. See, you can always load a pea. So you can't see it, but but it's loaded. If they didn't have the pea loaded, then they was honest.
And you brought your own lunch?
You brought your own lunch.
And what do you remember? What your mother had fixed you for lunch when you went to the field?
Well, back then, I ate lots of pork and beans, salmon croquettes, and things like that. If we had to go through Weaver, I was thinking the other day, we were just talking to someone. We was talking about the same thing we talking about now. What we used to, you stop off at a store, just buy you a can of sardines and some crackers, and a can of pork and beans, or a can of something like that, and that would be your lunch. You didn't go to no cafeteria.
You ate what you could get your hands on, what was available.
That's right.
Did you ever chop cotton? Was that?
Did I ever chop cotton?
Yes.
I chopped cotton out one day. I chopped at the house, but I wasn't a good enough cotton chopper. I hired out for one day, and the guy fired me at noon. But since he was so far from home, he let me work the rest of the day. And so I chopped cotton out for one day, 10 hours for $1.
Well, were you cutting the cotton plants when you were?
No, I just couldn't keep up.
Couldn't keep up.
You worked then. You really worked for that $1.
What kind of clothes would you wear into the field when you were?
Overalls.
Bib overalls?
Overalls, what they call union alls, coveralls we call them now. Same thing as we wear today. Jeans, khaki was just coming in back in those days.
What about shoes? What kind of shoes did you wear into the field?
Any kind you could get. It's mostly brogans.
And hats?
Any kind of hat, straw hat.
Now, you said you went to the Douglas High School in Sulphur Springs?
Yes.
And how would you have gotten from East Caney to Sulphur Springs? How did that work?
For 2 years we had I rode bus. The third year I had a car. I drove my car.
What kind of education do you think you got at Douglas?
That was the end of my education. I picked up my diploma on Sunday. I left here that next Friday. Went to Fort Worth. I was 17 years old. Got up Monday morning and went to Armor Packing Company, and they hired me. I had to run my age. Well, I didn't run it up, but I had to get a state permit from my mother to work. And I worked for Armor Packing Company for 33 years.
Now, was that an adjustment? You came from East Caney to Fort Worth, a small community, to a larger, well, metropolitan. Did you have any friends or contacts in Fort Worth when you first went over
yes,
there?
I had an auntie that lived in Fort Worth, and she had family my age. So it was pretty easy to make the adjustment. I just in Rome act as Romans. I'll try to act as Romans.
Now, let's go back to East Caney. When you were growing up here, what was at East Caney? There was a school. Was the church here?
The church was here. Yeah, it was naturally not this building, but yeah, it was a church here. This was a large community. At that time, this community was it had 2 schools. We had another school across the creek, right, just further east here. It was called that. If you lived on this creek right down here, which is about a half a mile down here, if you lived on the east side of that creek, you lived in Chapel. But Chapel was part of East Caney. So if you lived over there, you went to school at Chapel School. And all the people on this side went right across over here. But this was a large community back then.
Was there a general store here?
Not really. It was a store right where you turn off I-30. There was a store there that was called Shaggy. And you could pick up quite a few items at that little store. You couldn't shop for a full bill of groceries, but you could pick up a few items there. A little service station and a store.
Was that run by a white man?
Yeah. Buster Mathis.
And he would allow blacks to go in there and shop and...
Oh yeah. He had to. Hell, he lived in a black community. Well, he lived black community on this side, but everything north of that interstate, that was white. All the black lived south of the interstate. I don't know of a black ever living north of that interstate.
Now, what was the relations between the blacks in this area and then the whites that lived north of here?
We played together. They'd come to our church, we'd go to theirs. But when school started, they went to the white school, and we came to the black school. But we used to have what they call picnics, country picnics. All the white would be right across. We had a tabernacle. It used to be an old tabernacle across over here. We used to have a big picnic, and all the white would be picnics, have sandlot ball games and everything. And it was 2 or 3 white boys about my age. They were good ball players. They played ball. We grew up together. The separation came when school started. That's when the separation started.
Now, what if you went into Sulphur Springs to shop? Was that a different story in terms of, could you go into certain restaurants or clothing stores?
That was restaurants in Sulphur Springs I couldn't even go in. It was Sulphur Springs. It was such restaurants in Sulphur Springs I couldn't go in. It was drugstores in Sulphur Springs. If I went in, if I had a hat on, I had to pull it off. And that kind of stuff. Sulphur Springs was segregated. I guess like every other community back then.
Now, would your family go into Sulphur Springs to shop?